Hey, Composing Gloves here, and today we will be talking about diminished 7 chords. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably thinking, oh yeah, I know how to make this one. You write a diminished chord, and then you diminish the 7th. Guess what? You're right. It is a little weird though, so let's really quick take a look at it. And they contain the same properties because it's basically when you add a third, you're essentially combining two sort of crunched up chords together. As I've shown in the other ones, they allow you to make a huge variety of chord progressions. So we'll try and point out a couple of options you have, but also keep in mind that this, of course, will become more useful to you. I've been sticking to C the whole time because it's the easiest. It's the key I chose to be really strong in because it's all white keys. It's a very nice key. But I'm very used to working in other keys. I just want to keep it simple for you as well. I just feel like it's a key most people would choose to start with. Unless you play an instrument that's based on another key. So here we have C, E, and G. And to make a diminished 7 chord, you simply make a minor chord. So we'll make this flat, and we'll make this right here flat. And what you do is you double flat the 7 because it's a diminished 7th. So you double flat this guy. Why? So it's essentially like you're playing an A. So it sounds like this. Why do you have to double flat the 7? Now we've officially reached a part. I mean, we've had other reasons too, like in the A sharp major scale. I never wrote it out, but it's got 3 double sharps. It follows the order of sharps, and they are G, C, and F, not necessarily in that order. And what is, let me see here. It would be C, G, C, F. So it would be F, G, C. That would be the order of double sharps. It follows the order of sharps, only they're double. Anyways, moving on to this. This has to be a 7th because of our rule of intervals. So it's got to be a 7th. So the only way to get this to be diminished from being minor is to lower it again. So you can diminish my major and minor things. It is weird things. Okay. So anyways, weird stuff. So it sounds like this. Let me think about this. So pretty cool. What does this, as an advantage though, what does this allow us to do? Like, why would we use this kind of chord? Well, one of them is it introduces an A. And we have a couple other interesting properties that happen here. So we've got a C diminished, and we've talked about some of the properties of diminished chords. If we go down a third, so from here, if we go ahead and add a major third from there, which would be A flat, we get this really weird sort of crunchy chord. So we can pull a funny sound, a funny sort of key shift, moving from C7 to, and if we add an A flat, which would be a major third up, we can do that key shift that I talked about in the dominant 7 chord section. But because we've double diminished the 7, we've added this A, which rubs right up against that. So if you want a more crunchy movement, you can do that. Sometimes you will. And if you invert things so that this A and this A flat are far apart, it won't sound as crunchy. If you put them closer together, it can actually sound quite nice. If you were to do this, now it's diminished. And when you diminish it, you have 3 notes right next to each other. You've got that F sharp or G flat next to it. So I'm doing a lot of talking out loud, trying to play it, but it's just like, if you know the intervals and you know what I'm talking about, then you're good to go. So let's talk about this. So here we've got this. So you have that diminished, and then we have an E flat, a G flat, and essentially an A or a B double flat. So we have E flat and A. Well, let me do this in order. So we have an E flat, a G flat, and an A, which is another diminished. So we've got a diminished on a diminished. So we could choose to, if we suspend certain notes, like if we suspend the third and we add a 2 or add a 4, we get some really interesting properties. This is honestly like a huge, like the properties that this can give us, the things that this can let us do are enormous, but it's just too much to cover in this video. Like I've already talked way too much out loud about things and gotten too abstract. It would be way more helpful to write out some progressions and look at things, but that's outside the scope of what I want to do. I just want to introduce this idea. You are free to now go on. I say this stuff in hopes that you'll go through and say, oh, there's more here than just sort of what some people would consider a bad sounding chord. This is actually a really nice sounding chord. And if you omit certain things and do stuff in a cool way, you can create some really cool passages. So go ahead and go crazy with this thing, man. Go write out the inversions, make all the versions of this on all 12 notes, just go for it. Be free. If you have any questions, let me know. Subscribe and have a blessed day. The Bernie bass. So, okay, so here is the original. And here's what I got. That's the second attempt actually. Here's the first attempt, which is, you know, they're slightly different. So you can see I went in and added piano and some drums.